Alright, so, like I said, we'll try to get started as quick as possible. Just a couple of technical issues to clear up with everybody. How's everybody doing today? Good, good. Glad to hear it, glad to hear it. So I guess for the time being, let's run some introductions. My name is Gabriel Stryffe. I do RPG commentary on YouTube and stuff like that. This past year, 2016, I turned. Sorry. And of course, with that, I will have been gaming for 30 years altogether. So that's mostly where my experience comes from. I have written some stuff. I've gotten a couple things published out there. Nothing major, nothing I'm terribly proud of, nothing I'm really looking to plug. And the gentleman who will be sitting down for most of this is my brother Azarith. Yes, that's his real name, Azarith. You can find him on YouTube as well as on Twitter, at Azarith Stryffe. Yeah, at Azarith Stryffe on Twitter.
I know.
Me, just in case anybody's curious, because I'm always looking for more Twitter followers. If I had more Twitter followers, I'd probably tweet more, I guess. I don't know. Right now, I'm up to 6.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, so I can safely say a significant percentage of my Twitter followers are in this room right now. But anyway, no, it's Gabriel_Stryffe on Twitter. In case anybody cares. I don't know if you crazy kids do the Twitter and the Skypes anymore. I can't keep up with any of this craziness.
If you're interested, this whole diatribe could have been solved by doing up a business card.
What's that? Well, yeah, but every time I try to hand them out, people are like,
think you're weird.
People are like, oh, gee, thanks. Yeah, great. Like I'm some kind of, crazy, like I'm some kind of crazy
But then
guy
somebody
walking
might
up
walk
to me and
across-
like,
across
have
the
you
board.
accepted Jesus Christ as your Savior? Stuff like that. Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you. What's that? Muffin button. All right, cool. So that's great. So we'll get first start with the actual presentation here quickly. Just to let's get a quick poll of the room. How many people here? How many people here saw our panel last year? Don't have to spare my feelings. Seriously, anybody? Was anybody actually see our panel last year? Yes, that is awesome. Because I promised something in that panel I cannot deliver today.
What did we promise?
Nothing. You shut your whore mouth.
I actually don't remember.
Good. Keep it that way.
Now I better watch.
Come a little closer. You're outside the camera shot. If anybody has any questions while we're doing this, please feel free to throw your hand up. I'll be happy to stop and answer any questions. Or except. A couple frequently asked questions. Some of these things we do. Are you done yet? No. Stick with it, okay?
Does it get interesting?
Does it get any better after this? No, it does not. Quite honestly.
And I have my time back. I'm sorry, I don't do refunds.
I can't do that. Can't do refunds. I'm not a holder of time. Anyway, one thing that I didn't want to say, because I certainly wasn't expecting this many people to be here today.
Yeah, thank you guys all.
Thank you all for coming. Because I know for a fact this is my third MAGFest and my second MAGFest running panels, and so I know that any given second there is a million more awesome things going on out there. And if you've chosen to spend any amount of that time here with us, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. I really agree with that. I was kind of hoping for more. Thank you. You can ask for extra. I'm sorry.
I asked this previously when we only had like 5 people in the room. Whose first MAGFest is this?
Quite a few. All right, good.
Well, welcome, guys. Please enjoy the rest of your weekend. This is a blast. This is my 6th MAGFest, and I make it a point that I do not let anything stop me from coming. So
yeah, big time.
I've been through 3 layoffs, and I don't miss MAGFest.
Yeah. So got that out of the way. Oh yeah. So like what I was saying about. Appreciate you being here with us today. Appreciate your time and everything. Just want you to know, because I appreciate it so much, if you have to get up and leave or want to leave for any reason, if I catch you leaving, I'll probably be like, hey, thanks for coming. I'm not trying to call you out. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. I genuinely mean that. Thank you for coming. Thank you for any amount of time that you spend here with us today. So.
And don't feel bad if you do want to get up.
Yeah. Don't.
We understand. Yeah. I'm probably gonna walk out.
He's doing this with me, so.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let me get a quick poll of the room too while we're waiting. How many people here are gamers, as in video gamers? Just well, it's MAGFest. That's all. It's okay. Okay. Role playing game. Oh yes, that's all of you.
Okay. I did this last year. Of the role players, who's from Pittsburgh?
Awesome. Still no. Okay. Because we need more.
Yeah, I need more people for my group.
We need more people. We need more people in our groups. Writers, authors, anybody? Any of those? Okay. Okay. Awesome. Great. Hopefully this will help you.
Keep up the good work.
Good work. Bit of a stretch here. Any filmmakers or screenwriters? Oh, awesome.
Nice.
Great.
I've done a lot.
You look familiar. Why don't you? Okay.
You sure you didn't come to the panel after?
All right. Great. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So I guess we'll go ahead and kick this off with blank screen. So.
This is in focus.
Yeah. So, as they say in many mythologies, in the beginning the earth was void. So it's part of my.
And apparently not fully a circle.
Yeah, the circle is not fully formed. Okay. So all right. Now.
Hopefully we get the laptop situation fixed.
The other thing I was going to mention is that if anybody does have any questions, it's kind of a small room, so hopefully we'll be able to hear from all angles and whatnot. I don't need you to stand up particularly, but please speak up, speak very clearly because we are recording this and it's a crappy weak microphone on the camera. So while we're just waiting, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Now.
Do you have any questions for us as people, gamers? What we like?
Yeah. Anything I can do to keep you entertained for the time being?
Favorite game?
What's that?
Favorite game?
Favorite, which medium?
PC.
PC?
PC for life.
PC.
Master Race.
Master, what?
PC Master Race.
Oh, PC Master Race, okay. Right now, yes. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah! So while Gabriel does work, I'll answer that question. Favorite singular video game or video game series / brand?
Are you kidding me? Oh, wait.
Do we have time for both?
Sure. Favorite video game franchise? Castlevania.
Yes.
I remember playing the original Castlevania on NES when I was 5. Yeah, so I got my teeth on that.
Wait, Lords of Shadow doesn't count, does it?
No, because that game is bullshit.
Thank you.
Castlevania 64.
I enjoyed it, but no, it doesn't count. Curse of Darkness or Legacy of Darkness was a little better, but no. Castlevania Lament of Innocence is my favorite Castlevania game.
Oh, we got stuff happening here. All right.
Not necessarily for the mechanics of it, because 3D Castlevania just doesn't work. Storyline was fantastic and incredibly pivotal to the Castlevania mythos.
And singular game.
Singular game. Legend of Dragoon. Not a game that a lot of people like, but I did. I really enjoyed
It
it.
was good.
No,
Latest game you played.
Final Fantasy 15.
Hey.
Because riding around in cars taking selfies. What more do you want?
Riding on cars!
I'll steal that one.
We steal everything that's Eagle Raptors, so.
Favorite party system.
Favorite art? I'm a D&D guy. I grew up on D&D.
Edition? Yeah.
5th edition, longest edition played, 2nd edition. 5th edition was my favorite.
I'm still playing 2nd edition. We have a 2nd edition group going on right now. He's one of the
players.
he's not one of the 3 players. He's not one of my key players.
Yeah.
It's got
Nothing happens in the world unless I'm involved.
Yeah, seriously. I can't have anything happening in my world when he's not there because some of the
Or I get Skype messages of, hey, this is happening. What would your character do?
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing happens on Darius' world without Darius.
D&D story.
Ooh. Craziest D&D story. Well, the one that I always tell is where I got my own character killed and then married the woman.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to preface, this is what happened when stupid falls in love with evil. Please.
That's apparently been the catchphrase for the character now. So the character that I play, or was playing, named Azure Stryffe, same name. A paladin.
Because we love to self-aggrandize.
Right. Paladin, knight, defender of the realm, ends up meeting a farm girl who he develops feelings for, starts to fall in love with. Turns out our cleric, or our priest, had passed remove insanity. Turns out she was brainwashed. She was an assassin whose trigger words were, I love you. Yes, fuck you. By the way, I curse, so if anybody has a problem with that, sorry. So we find that out, we imprison her, And every day I go and visit her in jail. Sit and talk to her outside of her cell. And they get to talking, and the conversation comes up of, he wants to kind of get back for her to the guy that did it, who is the overall arcing villain of the story. She keeps going back and forth of, you can't, he's too powerful, Azra responds with, I'm not afraid. She says, well, of course, you're not afraid of me, I'm behind these bars. So he gets the guard to open the door and walks into the cell. She's like, well, yeah, you're not afraid, you're in all that armor. Takes off his full plate, sets it outside. She's like, well, of course, you're looking right at me. Gets on his knees and turns around. Last thing he hears before it fades black is, she snapped his neck. He wakes up in the afterlife, as much as you can wake up dead, to his goddess and him asking what happened. And she responds, you turned your back on an assassin. That's what happened. And that's what happens. That actually, the following scene of him discussing with his goddess of what happened and him wanting to go back because he got work to do, actually brought him and me to tears in real life. Because as the character and as the player, she made comment of, if you don't come home now, you will never come home. Him and me thinking that she was abandoned. She was actually foreshadowing that he would never die again. And he hasn't. He ascended to godhood himself, and yeah. That's my craziest D&D story. Long diagram.
Okay, so anybody know how to work a laptop? Yeah. No, it's not recognizing my flash drive.
It's there, the D drive. Yeah.
I took over the entire kingdom with
It's
this.
the D.
All right, I'm giving it to the other. Yeah.
I'm still proud of that.
And also came up to.
I'm proud of the stuff I do. But then in the back of my mind, Jesus Christ, this is actually going to
Good. Now, slideshow?
Probably.
There we go. That's good. Okay. Wow, there's a lot more people since when
Again, I cannot express my gratitude. Like, thank you for coming. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much. Okay, so, all right. Oh boy. So, okay, well then you're gonna have to stand over here because the way I have the camera set up, it's gonna be basically.
Then they'll hear my voice.
All right, cool. So,
I don't need to be on camera.
all right, wonderful. All right, so and more people keep coming in. All right.
Yeah, please fill in.
We
We
have room for all of you.
more room over here.
I don't mind.
He might. I can't actually guarantee that.
Okay. All right. Yeah, don't bother talking. It's not gonna help anything.
Extols Western countries of world building.
Oh no! Please. This is not exactly world building. Although it could be considered a heavy part of it. So yes, thank you to Building in Mythology 101. All right, so we did background info on us and everything. I think we covered all of that. Somebody asked what my favorite game was. I don't think I answered it.
You never actually answered the question.
So what was well? So which give me a medium because I do
Easy gaming.
PC gaming, SWTOR.
Okay.
Star Wars Old
football.
Fuck everything about it.
Fuck that shit. Get out of here.
All right. So all right.
Am I correct in saying probably your favorite video game would be Chrono Trigger or?
Well, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's
Favorite
definitely my top. It's definitely my top 5. All right.
I don't actually know what your favorite game is.
All right. Because I have so many. All right. So talking about mythology, obviously we're going to run down some definitions. So when you have a mythology, what exactly are we talking about? First, and just so you know, these definitions I'm paraphrasing mostly at the same time, paraphrasing from many different sources, including dictionary.com and the Webster's as well as Oxford English Dictionary. Mythology, 1, myths collectively, or the science and or study of myths. Also, a body of myths that explains or fosters beliefs that are associated with the history of an event or phenomenon of nature. Okay. So as not to use the word we're defining in a definition, we have to ask ourselves, okay, so what is a myth exactly? All right, so definitions of myth: traditional or legendary story dealing with deities, demigods, or heroes, and their roles in events that gave rise to some practice, rite, or to explain something occurring in the natural world, i.e., basically back to an event or phenomenon of nature. The last two, probably what we're going to be dealing with for the most part. Last two definitions of myth. Two, any invented story, idea, or concept, imaginary or fictitious. And my absolute favorite, and this one right here is pretty much the crux of it all. And unproven or false. I mean that was in there, but I like to focus on unproven. An unproven or false collective belief used to justify a social convention. Essentially, how not unlike how the Norse used to believe that Odin did stuff. And I got my mythology mixed up there for a second. I was about to say Odin, struck the ground, struck lightning bolts with.
Got my gods mixed up.
I did. I got my mythologies mixed up. That's actually Zeus or Thor. Hi, how you doing?
Hey.
Glad you could join us today. Come on in. There's like no room left, but we'll squeeze you in somewhere.
All right.
All right, come on in. Go ahead. Get settled. No wait. It's all right. We have all day.
Spidey, thanks for showing up. I know it's early.
All right.
There's a corner
All right. So with that's what we're talking about. All right. So we're that's not. There we go. Okay. So the two main things that we're dealing with when you're talking about mythology, there are two elements, two common elements to every great story. One is the hero's journey or the monomyth. Is everybody here familiar with? Actually, let me ask if we go better. I'll see if better. Can anybody tell me who this is? Yeah.
Joseph Campbell.
Yes, it is. Yes, very good, very good. That is in fact, writer, author, linguist, theorist, PhD-ish kind of guy.
He basically compared modern theory to Carl Jung's theories on psychology and the schizophrenic mind, and found that they had a lot of common.
Something like that. Yeah, exactly. But as it turns out, there's a great many things in Campbell's monomyth theory that actually hold true. Certainly as far as great storytelling goes. Monomyth, also commonly referred to as the hero's journey, that in itself is one common aspect of a lot of great stories. If anybody, hopefully, this is for anybody who's looking to write or to create something like this, or had an earful of the hero's journey and what it's about. Won't go too much into this and everything. However, if you have not, there is a ton of useful information and resources you can find online. Okay, I hear tell of a place that is a repository of arcane knowledge where many secrets are hidden. It's called a library. It's called a library. I don't know if any of these exist anymore or can be found, but you can find.
What's the URL? Silence?
Yeah.
It's www.nowhatsapp.com.
Awesome. So, but yeah. No, there's no end to the resources or resources you can use to research the monomyth, the hero's journey, and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, if you want like a really quick, I want to say 7 or 8 minute crash course on it, go on YouTube and look up Glove and Boots monomyth. They did a really awesome, kind of quick.
And then for the rest of your day, just watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
What was the channel name again?
What's it? Glove and Boots. Glove and Boots. Oh my God, people are taking notes.
Just me.
I didn't think anything I had to say was bad. Actually required written word.
What's up, buddy?
Another good resource if you want to know about the monomyth, not just the
Yes, please speak up.
Is
I'll make sure
extra credits. Like there's a check for extra credits. If you look up Hero Journey and extra credits check,
Yeah.
how do you do it?
Everybody hear that?
Everybody catch that?
Everybody have it?
Yes, question.
Another site you might want to look at is TV tropes. TV tropes.
What is it called?
No.
TV tropes. TV tropes?
No, save yourself.
I don't know what that is, so apparently don't do it.
You don't know TV
Okay, apparently that's a bad idea, from what I'm hearing.
No, it's a really good idea. You'll just never leave.
Oh, okay.
Then do it. Why
Obviously you want to do it.
I've never got.
Somebody else have a question? Have a hand back there? I missed, okay, all right, over around. Okay, so yeah, like I said, two common elements with mythology, of course. One is the hero's journey. And the hero's journey in classic mythology, of course, can be found, examples of this are like the story of Hercules, the story of Perseus, the story of, from the ancient Egyptian mythology. Also from Celtic mythology, there's the story of that guy, and things like that, yeah.
This is the era of
I'm hitting
this is the next.
Oh, even better, yeah, okay. So when we're talking about mythology, you have to understand that this is not, it's not just simply something pardon me. Yes. Pardon me, don't push yourself. Keep it tape for a second. Tell them a joke, catch yourself.
Everybody else notice that Joseph Campbell kind of looks like a cross between Mr. Rogers and Richard Nixon?
I do now. That's messed up. So once upon a time, these were not just goofy stories that people would tell each other around the campfire, tales of ancient heroes and great gods and things like that. Okay, I mean they were, but they weren't just those things. It was how they explained the world around them. It was how they were able to better understand a world that was still, at the time, just too big and too grand for them to possibly understand. And I'm not going so far as to say that the ancient people were stupid. I mean, like even go far back as cavemen and whatnot. We're talking about, you're talking about humans in every sense of the word. It's not that they couldn't. It's not so much that they couldn't divine, the answers and figure out how these things work. Because obviously, this day and age, in the modern era, we figured out how stuff worked. We know that lightning bolts come from clouds that rub together, very, very much. When a mommy and a daddy cloud love each other, and weather patterns and silly things like that. This day and age, we know how this stuff works. Back in the day, back then they didn't, and so they had to come up with something to help them better understand it. One of the best analogies of this as I could give would probably be, everybody here seen Princess Mononoke? Okay. The gigantic animals that they have out in the forest, the really, really great spirit animals. Every single one of those, the humans in that movie considered every single one of the really, really big animals, the great spirits, they considered them gods because of everything that they were able to do and because of everything, just how powerful they were. And so, try to imagine encountering a force of nature that is not only completely outside of your experience before, your collective life experience before, but also brought with it renders an extreme show of power, like some ancient Greek walking around suddenly gets caught in a thunderstorm and a bolt of lightning comes out of the sky and hits the ground maybe 50 feet from where he's standing. Now, once he wipes the poop out of his toga and his hearing comes back, he's going to try to figure out what caused that. Where did this come from? Clearly, the work of a god. So something more powerful than him, something that he couldn't understand. And a lot of times, you see examples of stuff in mythology is that where the gods and how the world was created and everything. How the gods came to be, or how they are responsible for a particular aspect of nature. All right.
I think another thing with mythology is the human mind is always trying to piece together their place in the world.
Yes.
So they create these stories to help them understand their place in the greater existence. Much like, you know, the 9 realms of the Norse mythology. The human mind trying to understand what happens when we die, like where do we go, and what is our purpose here? That's just the way I've always understood. I've always kind of taken mythology as far as the human mind trying to understand.
So, oh no, I remember what it was. Thank you very much. You're welcome. So man looks around. Man looks at the world around him and sees all of these wonders of nature and is trying to understand exactly how it came to be. Well, then what they do is they come up with a mythology, one might say, but not just a mythology. You also have to understand. Back in the days, this was somebody's religion. I mean, they believed in these gods. They worshipped these gods. And they believed that these gods were responsible for bringing the world into being, for making the world the way it is now, or at least now to that back in the day. So there we are. Okay. All right. So okay. So why do we need mythology? For most part, it helps us to explain things we don't understand. It also gives us something to believe in. I'm sure back in the days of the ancient Greeks and even the ancient Norse and whatnot, many people were inspired by the stories of Thor, Odin, Hercules, Perseus, things like that. Probably drove them to do great things, thinking that they themselves could possibly one day earn their place amongst the honorable, the honored dead, the valorous dead in Valhalla, earn themselves a place upon Mount Olympus with the gods.
It gave them drive and it gave them hope.
Very much so. And also does something else. It helps us to better. What?
Batteries running on the PC.
Oh my God.
It helps us understand why the laptop is almost dead. There is a myth of working electronics. It's a tale as old as time.
We plugged in some?
People by magic smoke in one of those games.
Oh, did you kick the cord?
The gods have spoken.
The gods have spoken.
This panel is too good.
Okay, there we go.
You guys have a power board?
Yeah, it just got unplugged or something for some reason. Thank you, by the way. That's okay. Like I said, we're filming all this, recording. We'll just cut that bit out. So, yeah.
Are you sure that's charging?
Am I sure that's charging? No, I'm not sure of anything anymore.
Well, it's not yelling at you.
No, it's not.
Beep, beep, beep.
It's not.
Okay. It's not true?
No. Continue, I'll try to fix it.
You won't want to rush through this before you lose your slide.
Okay, all right, next slide.
Yeah, continue, I'll try to
Okay.
fix
Oh,
it.
yeah, no problem. Real quick, as far as kind of aside, real quick, as far as resources go for researching and studying mythology, there are dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of books out there that you can learn, that you can read about mythology. I'm sure most of us in here had or given a collection of mythological stories from back when we were about 7th or 8th grade. Anybody else have to go through that in high school, have a mythology section? Okay, strangely enough, mostly people over here. Okay, yeah, so. The one thing that I would recommend for anybody who's looking to write books of mythology and whatnot, looking for any kind of not only ideas but also to start to get an idea of like common themes, which we'll talk about here. It's like common themes that run along in a lot of mythological stories and whatnot. These two books probably be your best. Okay, these two books probably be your best. Yes.
Wouldn't having like deities or things outside your control not just give you something to explain these things, but also give you something to blame?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean.
Like, oh man, my
You want
feelings
to
were
talk about?
down.
I mean, you want to talk about the human condition. I mean, I think we still do that today. You know.
Yeah.
Yay, God cured my cancer, then God gave my mom cancer. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would jump in on that and say that especially some of the older sources, you can see how the tone and themes of them strongly reflects the life.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Like you
definitely.
can see the Mesopotamian religions and myths are so violent because they're like so violent. Compare that to the Egyptian myths, which are very tame because they didn't had it great. And how, generally speaking, like the Norse myths totally justifies and sort of it sort of
Switch what's plugged into, it might be a bad sign.
it sort of
Okay.
I'm looking for it justifies it says that your way of life, your way of living is totally the right way. And that you can see how historically the myths of Loki went from him being sort of a neutral figure to a villainous figure as culturally mischievous and trickster-like things became less acceptable.
That's true, yeah.
And so it's a lot of ways, it's basically the thieves and stuff tell you how they expect you to live.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, pretty much.
Which
Very
is
good.
why it was a
Sorry.
great conversation.
Somebody else had their hand up over here, but you had a hand up too?
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, also, what you were saying about having that sort of scapegoat to blame, in the form of these gods and goddesses, or these mythological creatures. There's also, if you really wanna play around with backstory in war, you could have these, seem like benevolent gods and goddesses, when in actuality because the third definition of the final definition we had down was a false belief, and that's immediately what came to mind.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing too, is that it's the definition of the myth is basically has become that, basically a false belief. Probably because the modern age, we've basically proved all these things to be untrue. There is no big guy with a big white beard holding a lightning bolt living on top of Mount Olympus. People have climbed dozens of trees, like really, really big trees, but they didn't just find angels all up there. But yeah, like I said, my favorite part of that whole thing is unproven. So, but no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, just adding to that, there's a really popular theory about Thor, one of the most popular D&D deities. Actually,
Paylor. Yeah.
There's a really popular theory about him essentially being like the God Emperor from 40K.
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Exactly.
Other in D&D, there's this neutral evil deity for humans that all of the symbology and things are almost exactly like Paylor. It's almost like the humans, different culturally as changed. They have the same god, but changed as time went on.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It's probably exactly right. I mean, that's why we have, God or Yahweh, Jehovah, as well as Allah, and of course or essentially again, God, as far as. No, I said Yahweh. Yeah, okay.
Next
So,
slide before we run battery.
Yeah.
So anyway, just really quick, like I was saying, these two books right here, the Ultimate Encyclopedia of Mythological Creatures, the Big Benefit, as well as the Ultimate Encyclopedia of Mythology. I have two copies of this. One's a small travel size one. I wanted to bring it with me to prove you that I'm not bullshitting, but of course I left it at home. So, and I have a full size one as well.
We should show them all the slides and then go back and present.
I'll just be correct. So the other thing about mythology, it helps us to better explain the unknown, so that maybe we don't have to be afraid, because Thor is always looking out for us. Aphrodite is going to make sure that we find love in our life, and
Zeus is going to do the bad thing.
Zeus is going to do the bad thing that he does. And for those who wrong us, for those who vex us, the Archangel Michael will smite them. Something like that. All right.
I'm huge into angelic mythos, so Michael's my boy.
All right. So the other thing with mythology, the other thing important to remember with mythology is that it was essentially an oral tradition. These stories have been told hundreds of times, thousands, probably even millions of times over many, many years, many, many centuries. And as in most cases, they're handed down from generation to generation. And a lot of them, particularly in the example of the myth of Icarus and Daedalus, they also give us some I don't know if morals is the right word for it. I mean, considering some Greek myths are real myths, lessons, horrible. Yeah, some important life lessons. The story of Icarus in particular, for not reaching too far, not reaching for more than you can obtain. Everybody familiar with the story of Icarus?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. I won't go into it. You kind of pretty much already understand what I'm talking about.
He was a dumb.
But but just like other men of his time, he was curious. He was an explorer. He was an adventurer. He wanted to see what else was out there, but unfortunately, he flew too close to the sun, and the wings melted, and he fell to his death. And that equals death.
He's up here.
It's happening now.
It's a long way.
It's a long way down. And the best thing about this also is because for the most part it's been an oral tradition. That for the most part it's always been an oral tradition, and even though the ancient Greeks they did do a lot to preserve their history and their mythology. This is seen in things like carvings in the Pantheon, the Parthenon. Parthenon, thank you. Carvings of the gods that are still found in the Parthenon, parts of ancient Greece. Hey, thanks for coming. Parts of ancient Greece that can still be found. They can still be found there today. So while there were some recorded instances of the myths and their history and everything being actually recorded, being actually written down and whatnot. For the most part, the stories that accompanied them, the stories that went along with them, changed every so often. Probably not on purpose, probably not maliciously or anything. But everybody would actually bring their own flavor, everybody would bring their own perspective to the story when they would pass that story on to their children, and so on, and so on and so on.
And let's be honest, as humans, we like to exaggerate to make things seem better than they actually are.
Yeah.
Especially when we're storytelling, it's just nature. Like, if you're telling a story to your child, you want to make it seem as fascinating and adventurous and amazing as possible, which is what they try to do.
Yeah. I actually have this really funny story, but actually never mind. It's really important. Anyway.
We don't have time.
We do not have
the panel is done.
Your
That is
computer's
true.
literally dying.
Yeah, we do not have time. So, the point is about oral traditions is that every time the story is told, sometimes in great ways, sometimes in small ways, every time the story is told, the story changes just a little until we have. Until we have the character of Kratos from God of War, who basically grabbed all of Greek mythology, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it before proceeding to have very, very violent sex with it. So, yeah. Kratos, God of War, that entire series, probably a really great example of not only ancient, heroic, mythic storytelling, but it actually takes a lot from Greek mythology, but changes everything just enough to keep it kind of entertaining. If you actually, who here has played the God of War series? All 4, 5, 6 games? Everybody get them up there? I think so. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Okay, God of War 1, 2, and 3. Chains of Olympus, Ghost of Sparta, and Ascension. Yeah, 6 games. Yeah. So. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's seriously, it's like
You
trying
killed them all already. Like, what was there more to do?
Capitalism!
War never changed.
Shit, war never changed?
War
guys.
Anyway. So
That's dark side.
Like I said, really great example of changes in the oral tradition of mythology as it goes along. Kratos not only as a character, but also as someone who is living in the times of Greek mythology when all of this mythological stuff supposedly is happening. Basically goes in there and shakes things up. I was really when I first played God of War, I thought it was absolutely brilliant until you start to get to the parts where like how the Greek, the figures from Greek mythology and the story that they're kind of creating sort of begins to vary, begins to skew off from what I learned Greek mythology was, the stories that I had heard, the stories that I had been told about Greek mythology. But then I realized, realistically, that's one of the best things about it, is that there are many, many different versions of many, many different stories, and they could all be true. Because why? Unproven. Thank you. Yes, exactly. Because so far they're unproven. Now, realistically, we have proof of Kratos' crimes against both humanity and Greek mythology, but we'll just let that.
And flora, fauna.
Urns and treasure chests.
Man, he smashed a lot of Lincoln.
Okay. This right here is pretty much the springboard into the main point of the topic and everything. So when creating your own mythology, you pretty much have two options. Could have more than two options, but let's just go with two for the purpose of it. Hi, how you doing?
Our Savior has arrived! If it works, if it doesn't, get out.
I tell my children and my children's children about the guy who came with the power strip.
Yeah.
He will live on.
So what's your name, your best
That's a
friend?
legend.
Steven. Okay. Let's give it a step. Let's give a round of applause for Steven. Does anybody have any questions so far? Anything they want to interject while we're waiting for power supply?
Yeah, please.
Well, I know this is kind of about myths in general and the hero's journey. And I know you wanted to do a panel about heroes. I don't want to derail this and go to panel.
Sure, go ahead.
But the idea of what a hero is has kind of changed. Kratos is a jerk. He's actually an anti-hero.
Oh yeah, very much so.
So, like, the idea that the hero is this ultimate, like, hero, like, good paragon of good has kind of changed, because our idea of what is good and what is bad has changed.
Yeah, no, that's true. Another good, with that, another good example of a mythology, probably the Arthurian legend. We've gone really far from heroes like Arthur and Lancelot to basically the modern day, where we have guys like Kratos and Wolverine. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Wolverine. Okay. I felt the fires of hell about to be from this crowd. But anyway, but no. You have now this day you have wouldn't really necessarily call them heroes so much myself. You have characters. You have characters like Wolverine, Kratos. Even.
Which is kind of nice because every person can interpret a character differently. What somebody would see as a hero, others might not.
Yeah.
Like Kratos is an anti-hero to us. He'd be a villain to the Greeks. Because you murder their entire pantheon of gods.
Yeah.
Murder his family.
Yeah. That's another common theme that we find
Yeah, heroes murdering people.
I mean, even in the past, you had these heroes who were some atrocious threat.
For the greater
But
good.
it's heroic. Right now, we're like, whoa, that's kind of gross.
I'm thinking particularly like Ulysses, and also, because how many times on his way back to his island has he raped and pillaged?
Killed an entire wedding party.
And I'm also
Now, granted, I gotta say, if it was guys if the wedding party were guys lined up to marry my wife while I was gone, then yeah, there's some murder going down.
So I was just thinking that now that we don't really have an oral tradition, that is not something to have, because people can just go back, well, that's not how that story goes, even if you're saying it out loud.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, so we've kind of crossed over into a really weird place where our oral tradition has gotten, our reach has expanded. We can tell anybody in the world if they will listen, but now we have to prove it.
yeah, so I guess my question is, wait, we have to now change, if we're gonna change the mythology or the story, we have to do it deliberately, and obviously like with Kratos in God of War, or Percy Jackson in the Olympians.
Yeah,
or,
we have to create a mythology upon a mythology.
Yeah.
instead of.
That's if you're, that is if you're going to, that is if you're gonna be borrowing.
I disagree. Fuck you. This is what it is now. There you go. I fixed
Yeah, but
it.
then you have Reddit blog.
Who cares?
On that thought though, is that one thing you'll notice, and this is probably true if you look at meme culture, is that depending on what world internet you go to, it's actually different. That's the oral tradition is still alive. The problem is we're more insulated to what our ideas are.
Yeah.
We're not as open and accepting of other people's.
Yeah.
Of other people's. We're more worried about. Kind of goes along the lines of the quote that I heard. We listen to reply, not to actually understand.
Yeah, which is fantastic. All right, so
Let's continue.
We're actually running out of time. So okay. So speaking of borrowing from existing mythology, anybody recognize these two characters?
Bottom to that.
All right, cool. Again, so yeah, obviously these are two major characters from Final Fantasy. I don't even remember which Final Fantasy I got each of these.
This is Final Fantasy VIII. I'm almost positive.
Okay, and of course, Tiamat. And so interesting. That's the other thing about it. Does anybody know where the original figure of Bahamut and Tiamat comes from? Yes.
Bahamut, I believe, was a raven fish or something, an Arabian, massive fish that had a bowl of Arabian.
Close.
Yeah, and Tiamat was oh, actually, that's someone else had seen that.
Yeah.
Sorry, he is right. So Tiamat is the sort of saltwater dragon from Gilgamesh, which is the Babylonian creation. Who is paired up with Apsu, who is the sort of freshwater dragon.
Yeah. Ancient Babylonian, Sumerian mythology.
The Bahamut, the name comes from Arabian mythology, where it's related to the Sumerian behemoth.
Right. Okay. It's kind of interesting. To bring that up as well. Does anybody know? Because we're talking about Final Fantasy monsters now. Does anybody know where the original story, the original tale of the behemoth comes from? Yeah. What's that? Yes. Actually, it's a Hebrew myth. Yeah. I knew you would get that, but yeah. The original story of the behemoth was a tale from ancient Yiddish Hebrew storytelling mythology again. And supposedly, when some great hero, I forget who actually was a great figure, historical or mythological figure amongst the Hebrews, actually fought and slew the behemoth. Wherever it was wounded, wherever its blood spilled and reached the ground, it spewed out all kinds of nasty things like snakes, frogs, plague, disease, death, just in general. And so with that, it's actually kind of an interesting. It draws actually kind of an interesting parallel to the myth about Pandora's box. Whereas, basically, one would think that the entire tale of the behemoth, or rather, I should say, the story of Pandora's box is more of a metaphor for the story of the behemoth. But again, all of this is what? Unproven. So we're gonna have to work on this. All right. So again,
I'm just thank Steve by posthumously for making.
Where did he go?
Yeah.
He's here like a hero.
The mythology of the ninja.
Great Steve.
Great Steve.
We'll give him a round of applause.
Yeah, true unsung hero of the panel would be Steve. All right. But so yeah, like I said, so we're talking about borrowing from existing mythology.
Final Fantasy.
Don't even worry about it because it's already a thing. Particularly if you're talking about game design and whatnot. Final Fantasy is another one of those games, one of those franchises. Actually, every single Final Fantasy game, probably with the exception of the Final Fantasy games that are actually sequels to existing Final Fantasy games. Each one is its own separate world with unique characters and almost a mythology unto themselves. Okay, we've got time. Good idea. But still there with Final Fantasies, we see some common elements like the hero's journey, like Sid, like Tiamat and Bahamut in some form or another. One of the Final Fantasy games, like all the summons were like airships that like did airstrikes or some shit.
Final Fantasy 13, they were all vehicles.
Oh, okay, yeah. That was okay. So that's interesting.
Except for Odin. Odin was a horse.
Odin was all
He was a mechanical horse.
Robot horse.
Yeah,
He was a mechanical horse.
all the same.
I'm trying to remember who was sports car.
Shiva was a motorcycle.
Was it Ifrit? I was either Ifrit or Gilgamesh.
One of the two. What's that?
No, you don't.
Everybody shits on it. I liked it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong.
Well,
13-2 was bad.
The thing about Final
13-3
Fantasy
was
13
There was
is,
a 13-2. I knew there was a 10.
13-2, and then there was like 13-2 Lightning's Return.
And then there was like a million sequels to Final Fantasy 7 or something like that.
There's not a million sequels. There's at least one spin-off and a remake. Why they did that?
Alright. So,
I don't know why.
Money.
Take Final Fantasy as well as God of War, obviously great examples of borrowing from existing mythology. If you're gonna do original mythology, do it right. So then we get to things like Star Wars. Star Wars actually has its own very, very, very much unique mythology built from the ground up by that guy. Who made it. But not only that, George Lucas has even said several times in interviews that he made Star Wars for a generation of people who no longer had fairy tales, who no longer grew up listening to fairy tales. And he honestly thought, like, well, this won't do. When I become a filmmaker, when I go out to make the movies I want to make, this is what I'm going to do. Give people something to believe in. Give people something to look up to, something to look forward to. Something like Star Wars. And the actual mythology of Star Wars, in and of itself, in its own continuum, goes back somewhere in the neighborhood of 25,000 years before any of the movies actually happened. I'm not sure if this is true anymore because they've changed so much canon these days. But yeah, exactly. Originally, the Old Republic was established 25,000 years before the Battle of Yavin 4, essentially before the episode 4, before the first movie ever happened. And of course, my first movie had to be episode 4. And so with that, there's even more about the universe, even more about the world, the mythos of Star Wars that we don't even know. Because of course, before the formation of the Old Republic, there would have been governments and planets and civilizations and whatnot that kind of had their own thing, kind of all had their own things going on. But Star Wars in and of itself is also one of those one of these stories that is just absolutely rife with mythological themes. Anybody give me some examples of those? Yeah.
Well, the original trilogy
Yes.
follows the hero's journey
Very much so. Yeah.
through almost perfectly, like step by
There's
step.
that. Yeah. What's that? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yeah.
You got the Rancor.
Had the Rancor?
Yeah, the Rancor's a mythological beast.
It's what?
It's a mythological beast.
Oh,
Just to kill
awesome. Yeah.
I would argue that you have a belief system or a magic system, very common in fantasy genre.
I'll help you with it.
Yeah, well, but technically it's real.
Yeah.
Well, you could prove the course. It's like it's there, and at a certain time when like Jedi are moving stuff around, you kind of crazy not to believe.
Yeah, I'm Yeah.
They're making things again. Couldn't we get rid of midichlorians?
We can change that.
Why would you know what he was talking about? Why not just?
It was probably.
Something like that. But one of the best examples of mythological themes that we find in Star Wars is pretty much not only, like you said, the hero's journey episodes 4, 5, and 6. but also pretty much rests within the story of Darth Vader himself. Because the guy essentially falls into darkness primarily due to his own selfish desires. Unwittingly winds up killing the woman that he loved. Winds up killing her in an effort to save her, and then becomes horribly disfigured and winds up taking on an outer appearance that now masks the darkness within him, becoming like some kind of monster. Then, in true Greek fashion, his own son rises up to defeat him. Now, that, my friends, is not only the mythology trifecta, that is how you win a mythology bingo. Oh, damn, really? I was kind of hoping that was going to be a better reaction. Alrighty.
And also the redemption story.
Yeah.
That same evil monster, in his last act of desperation, finds the good again.
Yeah. Very much so. Bullshit hard when I say Castlevania! That's what I thought. Alright. Castlevania, definitely one of the better game franchises that have been around for a long time. Also one that not only creates its own mythology, but also borrows a lot from mythology. If you look at, the story, the base story itself of Dracula, of course, based on Bram Stoker's Dracula, and all of the monsters that you encounter in the castle. Every single one of them is a mythological creature from somewhere else.
Frankenstein's monster,
The Minotaur.
the Minotaur,
Yeah.
Gorgon,
Cthulhu.
Yeah, Cthulhu. I learned that actually. I forgot.
Yeah. So, and this in of itself is actually also one of the probably also one of the better one of the better stories, of course, complete with its own creation myth, with its own origin myth.
Who knows this? Who knows who this is? Who is it?
No, it's not big.
Oh,
Who is it? Leon Belmont.
Tell us about Leon Belmont, brother.
So, in Castlevania mythology, Simon Belmont is probably the most well-known Belmont in history. This is the most important. Leon Belmont is the reason that the Belmont clan exists. The Belmont clan became vampire hunters. I lost my train of thought. So Leon Belmont starts his quest as a knight in the Crusades with a man by the name of Matthias Crumpfist, who was his tactician, his best friend. Leon's beloved, his betrothed Sarah, is kidnapped and taken to Eternal Night, a castle run by a vampire by the name of Walter Bernhardt. Leon forsakes everything and runs after her. Gets to the castle, is met by an alchemist by the name of Ronaldo Gandolfi, giving him a whip fueled by alchemy to fight the creatures of the night. Only to find out that Leon is still not strong enough to take on Walter. And in rescuing Sarah, by the way, who has not played the game? I'm gonna spoil it.
This game's been out for years. At this point,
It's a PS2
it's your own
game.
fault.
Sarah has been bitten by Walter. She is cursed with the curse of vampirism, and in her last act of desperation, in her last sacrifice, willingly gives herself for Leon to strike her down with the whip of alchemy to turn it into the now renowned vampire killer. With that power, Leon heads to Walter's throne room and confronts him. Defeats him, only to find out that his best friend Matthias Crumpfist was behind the whole thing. Fucking asshole. Leon does not understand why Matthias would do this. Matthias says it is his act of defiance against God. If God gave us limited life, he would defy it by taking away everything that Leon knew and betrayed him. And Leon vows that his family will forever hunt the knight and hunt Matthias wherever he goes. Matthias then takes on the name of Vlad Tepes, Dracula. This is the most important figure in the Castlevania mythology.
So that's where it all started. That's where it all.
This game is my shit.
Which Castlevania is
Castlevania Lament of Innocence.
Everybody, what was the, what was that, which one do you want to talk about, the Castlevania game? Just 2, 3,
I don't remember.
okay, well, we'll skip that, we're in a long time anyway.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, not a problem. All right, so yeah, that right there, so right there, another prime example of, you know, of the mythology. Plus also within a lot of, I don't want to say cinematic, a lot of classic story themes, betrayal, love and romance, sacrifice and love.
And actually, Castlevania is another good example of mythology building on mythology. Castlevania had already had this set in place, this kind of this mythos of Dracula and the Belmonts. And then they went back and they said, all right, well, let's build on that now and expand it, and gave us the actual precursor.
They did the same thing with Scott and Sword.
Yeah, that is bad.
Yeah.
I didn't need to happen, I did.
Also, it says this is a timeline, and sometimes you just don't need to explain it, you know? Sometimes just let it-
Castlevania did.
So, hope we give you some idea of how it works and where to draw from, and hope this helps a lot with your own mythology and or world building. Just one final message, final note I want to leave you with, usually a quote. Oh, went too far. Okay. Keaton always said, "I don't believe in God, but I'm afraid of him." Well, I believe in God, and what scares me is Kaiser Soze. Words spoken by verbal kings.
So, we are over. So,
Yeah, we are dead over.
And then we can answer the questions afterwards.
Yeah, the last other thing that you need to remember for like building mythology and everything, just make sure you answer a few questions. Who, what was there in the beginning? Who created it all? Where did it come from? What happened? You know, what happened once it was there? The all-powerful being. If it's an all-powerful being, why is it perfect? Why isn't it perfect? You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And legends of all those, and of course, legends of all those came before whatever happening. You know, whatever happened now.
Being vague is important, right? Just because
Maybe it is.
Because I feel that like faith is inherently a little bit vague in order to have it, so that like I believe you mentioned that vagary is
Yeah,
very
it's like
important.
you gotta be a little vague, you know?
Absolutely.
Everybody has their own idea about who God is. You know, we all kind of fall into our own ideas. Some people are like, God isn't real. Some people are like, God is merciful and benevolent. Some people are like, God is a jerk. Some people are like, God isn't fair. I mean, everybody
The more
has their own
specifics
idea.
you give, the more people can figure it out.
Yeah.
Midichlorians.
Or